All right, welcome back to another episode of the Are You Strong Show. Another phenomenal, I hate to say the word former, but former athlete on the show tonight, college as well as professional. But before I say his name, like I always do, let me rip off a couple of cool things. Went to the California State University, Long Beach, played baseball there, majored in communications and media study. He was a pitcher, he was a closer. He's the guy they brought in at the end to lock it down. He was honorable mention all conference for the Big West Conference. And what's really cool, he was drafted in the 10th round of the 2009 Major League Baseball draft by the Colorado Rockies. Spent 2 years with the organization. Came out into the career world, which is a big shock for a lot of guys, right? But now he's doing something really cool, which we're going to chat about tonight. He's the founder of CLR Connection. It's a company, it's a performance coaching company that specializes in working with executives in communication and identity. Welcome to the show, Charlie Ruiz.
Jeff, thank you for having me. Excited to
Uh,
be here.
I'm excited to have you on, and Charlie, I got a lot of questions to ask you here, but
Good.
before I get into really grilling you a little bit, do me a favor, tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of roll on from there.
Yeah, no, I think the first thing I like to talk about is the fact that I'm kind of rare in the sense of I live in the city that I was born in, so I do wear this San Francisco Bay Area East Bay specifically with pride, and I'm here. I've been here for 37 years. Now I'm fortunate to be here raising a family of three little girls with my wife that we met at junior college, and my family is here. I love being here in the Bay Area. And I think I like just starting there to say there's so much of this place that shaped me and how I operate now. So I like to shout out where I'm from because a lot of times we forget those roots.
That's great. And you're a girl dad.
Certified, the only thing I like to say I'm certified in, and that certification doesn't take much other than showing up and just being present for those babies.
Yeah. And how old are your kids?
7, 5, and almost 2.
7, 5, and almost 2. Whew. You
Mhm.
are one busy man.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah.
It's always interesting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's no dull moment,
No.
right? No dull moment. So I got a ton of questions here, but I'm gonna bounce around a little bit, but let's go
Cool.
backwards in time. Okay.
All right.
And I want to bring you back to high school, right? I want to bring you back to high school baseball. And because I love to talk to the athletes who had a different type of recruiting experience, right?
Got it.
So because today is so crazy, right, Charlie? The recruiting, it's all about money. It's really about what is the school going to do for me versus what is the athlete going to do for the school. Can you talk about your transition from high school to college baseball? What was your recruiting experience like? And was it full of pressure, stress? Was it easy? How did it all shake out?
I'm gonna start with even just high school. I only played 1 year of varsity baseball, which is very odd for people to hear that when
And you
I
get drafted.
yes. Oh well,
Crazy.
after junior college. So
Right.
I say that because I played 1 year and it was one healthy year as a senior. So when I was there, I wasn't recruited, which speaks to the recruiting process, right? I switched schools. I love basketball first, but I was hurt my junior season. So this is the year when you typically get recruited.
Yeah.
I did not play, so I only had 1 year as a senior where I only pitched. So at that point, we were pretty good at Arroyo High School in San Lorenzo, California. But a lot of the people who were in my league would then go the junior college route. So I kind of knew this was my path and talked to one or two of the local junior colleges and had one verbal conversation with San Jose State, which I would have been interested in,
Yeah.
but decided on the junior college route just because it made sense for my family and being the first one to go to college. It was like, hey, let's go the JUCO route, do well enough to hopefully get a scholarship.
Yeah.
And honestly, those 2 years at Chabot Junior College were probably two of the most transformational years on a baseball field, and I still hold that place very dear to my heart.
So when you showed up as a freshman,
Yeah.
what was that like? Was it far from home? Was it close enough where you can go back and forth? Was it a transition of wow, like this is kind of crazy?
It was close enough to go back and forth.
Okay.
But again, our junior college was known as a powerhouse. So a lot of the guys who did not land a Division I scholarship or sign, they likely ended up at Chabot Junior College. So a lot of these guys from like the Valley, we called it the Valley, would come
Hmm.
down and they typically ran the show. Very few
Okay.
guys from the HAAL, which was my league, would get any type of playing time. So I was
Mm.
probably 9, 10 on the depth chart if I was lucky. And it was always kind of known as like, you got to come grind. But when I got there, it was culture shock. And I was looking left, looking right. I'm like, oh, these guys lift. They eat, we're talking chicken tuna cans. Like, I have never done any of this. I just showed up and threw
Yeah.
baseballs.
Yeah.
These guys were already Division I guys, just had a junior college. So it was a bit of culture shock for me.
Now, were you a closer right off the bat?
Uh, no, I was a starter.
Okay.
And I think this was right when the game of baseball started to transition into you would have a sixth inning guy, a seventh inning
Yeah.
guy, an eighth inning guy, a ninth inning
The
guy.
setup guys.
Totally. And they started me a couple times and realized my attention span and probably skill set was more conducive to be like a seventh, eighth inning guy. But again, we
Okay.
already had guys in the pen. So it was whenever the innings were there, it was likely to be late in the game. I had I had good enough stuff to be able to strike guys out, which typically means you're going to come in the seventh or eighth inning, and that's kind of how they
Yeah.
grew me for my next year.
Okay. So, did you learn what lessons did you learn
Uh,
going from I thought you were a closer the whole time. So now this is a good question, I think anyway. What
it is.
lessons did you learn to go from a starter to a closer? Because a starter, you know you're going to get 4 or 5, maybe more innings. A closer, you got like one, right? Or two. And they're bringing you in some pretty precious situations.
Mhm. A few things. First, in order to be able to succeed at that level, you have to be able to slow down and speed up.
Mm.
And I didn't know what that meant at the time. I just knew that my stuff was powerful enough to
Yeah.
be able to get guys out, but I had no time to warm up. So it's a lot of how I operate now and how I coach and how I work with people. The emphasis of right here, right now. There's no better time to be able to turn up and flip the switch when there's runners on second and third and one out and you're up one and you come in to face a four hitter. Like there's no warming up.
It's
You have
chaos.
to be able to tap in now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And usually the greats at the end of the game can do it if they understand the importance around the mental game and being able to slow down before they speed up. Because
So
everybody
so
else
what are
is
you thinking when you're coming in there? Hey, are you a lefty or a righty?
righty.
So the coach is doing the right hand thing to bring you in. What are you thinking when you're going from the bullpen to the mound?
It was first an inhale and an exhale, and then it was, this is exactly what you signed up for.
Yeah.
This is what's fun. This is what you've been training for, and there's no better person than you to be out here on this mound right here and right now.
So did you really learn how to handle pressure? And if so, how did that project you or your trajectory into life after the game,
Yeah.
handling pressure?
You know, I think about the one conversation I had at my exit meeting, and again, I still tell this story often, where I left Chabot Junior College after to get a scholarship to go to Long Beach State, and I remember shaking my coach's hand, Steve Friend, mentor, coach, OG legend here. Now I think he's at Indiana Wesleyan. But when I left, I shook his hand, and he said, I thanked him, and he looked at me in my eyes and said, "No, I thank you." And I said, "Excuse me?" Like, he's an
Yeah.
school coach. And I remember him telling me, he's like, there's been 30 years worth of guys coming in and out of this program. You took advantage of the resources. You applied. You learned. You did the thing and had access just the same way everybody else did. So thank
Mm.
you. And he shook my hand.
Wow.
Now that shifted because then, of course, after he was like, as soon as you realize that this is the work that you put in and you understand the importance around slowing down to speed up, you're going to do damage to the next level and hopefully even beyond that. So I took that with me as I went to Long Beach State. And then here I go walking into Long Beach State, which is another program that was built on mental performance and some of the great sports psychologists, Dr. Ken Reviza, and a lot of the
Yeah.
other work that kind of introduced me to the world.
But Long Beach State, that's big time baseball.
Yes. And it was a dream for me to be able to go there. But again, it happened kind of when it comes to recruiting. The funny part about that is I'd been recruited to go to San Jose State. That same coach then took a job at Long Beach State. So I got a phone call after they had like 8 guys go in the draft. And there was an inkling in my body saying, hold off on committing 100%.
Hmm.
And sure enough, I got a phone call that next day, and he said that they had a spot open for me. And next thing you know, I was on my way to Alaska to play summer ball and getting the scholarship offer on my way to play summer ball, which is also very unheard of because most of the time you have your scholarship before you leave for summer ball.
Yeah. So you played summer ball in Alaska?
Yes.
Like, what the heck is that like?
First time ever away from house.
Yeah.
I get sent to Alaska for 3 months. In the summer, it does not go, the sun does not go down.
Right.
So we're having games at 7:30, 8 p.m. where you're finishing up a game, and it's 11 p.m. at night, and you're going down to the river to the creek to fish. I was one of the only junior college people in the entire league. And again, you talk about shell shock or culture shock. You walk in, and my team was full of essentially everyone who did not go to the Cape.
Yeah.
So you're talking about heavy hitters from Oklahoma,
Yep.
from Okie State,
Yeah.
from USC's, you name all these schools. And here I am, one of the few junior college kids going, okay, well, this is what you're walking into. You're
Yeah.
here for a reason. Go light it up. And I took
Mm.
that same kind of mentality of chip shoulder, JUCO. It's time.
Yeah. Well, so
Had
what
a
was your
blast.
host family like?
Had a blast. Oh, my host family. I don't get to talk about them. They were wonderful. I still talk to them
Do you?
occasionally. Yes, I think that host families and people who open up their home to college athletes, especially at such a young age,
Yeah.
can offer so much learning and opportunity of just how other families operate,
Yeah.
of, of skills, of independence. And I think Tom and Anna Lee out in Alaska, they were just unbelievable. They moved to Estes Park, Colorado. I went and visited them there. And then again, I think that there's such a big opportunity for host families and for people to
Yeah.
learn and teach in such an unconventional way. So
I
no
don't
comment,
think that
Anna.
the traditional fan, for lack of better words, I don't think they all know that you play up in that league, you play in the Cape League,
Yeah.
you travel to these leagues, you stay with some just strangers, for the
Oh,
entire time you're there.
little the whole time.
Yeah.
Even better, you like this. I'm first assigned to to a house where I had to walk through the master bedroom to get to my bedroom, which was a chicken was next to the chicken coop outside. So the host, the
Yeah.
GM of the team, kind of got wind of that, and they were like, "Hey, so you're gonna stay in the hotel for an extra week while we wait to figure out where you're gonna go."
Yeah.
And then I ended up landing at just an awesome host family's house.
Yeah. Now,
And
did they have rules like, hey, you got to be home by 11, that type of thing, or do you kind of do whatever you wanted?
kinda, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it varied. I
Yeah.
think they were pretty open to it. But again, it was about respect, right? I
Yeah.
respect this
Right.
home. And I don't know if all the families maybe felt that way. I felt like I was a good kid and did the
Yeah.
right thing. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think it was like that for all the
You didn't
families.
cause any problems.
Yeah. Hopefully if it was an Airbnb, review where it's 5 stars for them,
Yeah.
5 stars for me, and it's
Yeah.
probably why we still communicate. So
That's
thanks for
great.
letting me talk about them. They're awesome.
Yeah. So Major League Baseball draft. You're drafted
Mhm.
by the Colorado Rockies. I mean, that's got to be a lifelong dream. So many kids want that phone call, that pick. Talk about that day. You go from college, now you're a professional baseball player.
Mhm. I the way I've talked about this in the past is that I truly can say that I never thought it was gonna be a feat that I was gonna look at. Like I felt like I just loved the game. I
Mhm.
love playing. I love my teammates. I love the histories and the lessons. I love talking about the game with my dad, my uncle, my mom, my brother. Like I just love the game. That I never was like telling myself as a kid, you're gonna be a Major League Baseball player or you're gonna sign a professional contract. So when it happened, I think it was more of just I am so happy to even get this opportunity
Yeah.
and to be grateful for the fact that it was even in front of me. Like that was never something that I even dreamt of, let alone now that I'm getting signed as the 301st pick overall, being talked about as a top 10 draft pick for an organization.
Yeah.
It was truly a dream.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was playing with house money. I'm like, all right, Let's go.
So you're used to getting on a plane and going to Alaska. So now you get on a plane, and where do you end up at once you get drafted?
Tri-Cities, Washington, Pasco to be
Oh,
specifically.
so not too far away.
Not too far, but when you get told that you're going to go to Washington to play baseball, you assume it's going to be cold. But what you don't know is that it's on the southeastern part of Washington where it's basically the desert.
Okay.
So we're talking dry heat, middle of nowhere, just on the border. We're talking next to Boise. Talk about another environment where you're like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
different.
Yep.
But that's minor leagues.
Yeah. But that minor league team, being that you're out in the middle of nowhere, were you like the team that everybody came to watch? Were you like the night out that everybody went to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we had a really nice stadium and a really good program and a team, like a management team that really did a good job as far as building together a community there. And in
Yeah.
that same way, I was so fortunate to get the sweetest host family, Grandma Donna. I still talk to her to this day. I went and visited her with my family 2 years ago. I did an offsite out there and ended up throwing the first pitch at one of the games,
Wow. That's
which
cool.
was hilarious in itself because I threw it right in the ground. Uh, so I need to do that again. And yeah, they did such a great job with that. And what was really unique about that experience, not just having my parents in the stands watching me throw out the first pitch, but it was the fact that this small community in Pasco, Washington, including Eric, the peanut guy who was like the MC, and the GM, and some of the people that were in the staff there, they were like, "We remember you," and like, "Thank you for coming back,"
That's great.
which was such a surprise of that experience because I was like, "Wait a sec, do you remember me?" It's like, how do we not? So that was a very special experience. It was from 2 years ago. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you got to get back there so you and throw the ball into
Yeah, I
the
got to do
glove
it
and not the
again.
ground.
That was
Is it on,
embarrassing.
is it on video?
Oh yeah. I before I got off the field, Jeff, I had a text message from one of my teammates because one of my teammates' host family was in the stands and recorded it. So before I could even get off the field, my buddy Craig sent me a text and was like, "Hey man, dirty ball." And I'm like, "How do you already have this on camera?" He was like, "Oh, my host family sent it." So
Nice job.
yeah, it's all right.
So t tell the audience, the people that are listening about what's it like to be in the minor leagues? Like, is it difficult? Is it fun? Is it rewarding? Is it a drag? Talk about that.
Very good timing, Jeff. I don't think I've told you that I'm getting ready to launch my own podcast, and this is going to be a lot of what I talk about. Of the minor league mindset, I think is not for the faint of heart, and that is
Hmm.
because you're constantly in this phase of comparison and
Yeah,
chasing something without any control of an outcome. You go away from team to individual, which is also a skill set you got to learn, and you have to have this kind of minor league mindset that that is selfish in some ways, but also relentless to where you could be doing every single thing possibly right, everything.
yep,
It does not matter.
right.
Luck is involved. You have to be prepared. And it's this ultimate grind and this mindset of resilience, of grit, but also of forgiveness and of grace that you have to learn how to navigate, of
Yeah.
chasing imposter syndrome, of do I even belong here?
Mm.
And a lot of that application of being in the minor leagues, preview for the podcast, translate to how you show up when you have to retire and you find
Yeah.
yourself in the financial space or find yourself as a real estate investor or find yourself in executive communication.
Yeah.
A lot of the mindset in the minor leagues is what helps people transfer into excellence
Yeah.
later in life
Right.
off the field.
So talk about that for a second. When you said luck also, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you got to have, depending on what layer, what level of the minors you're in, the guys ahead of you, like they got to move too. Like you're not, if there's nowhere to move, you don't move just because you're good, or unless you're really good and better than the guys up there, right?
Yes, this is where when we say luck, it's like there's a ton of different quotes. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's like when preparation meets opportunity,
Mhm.
something along those lines. The reality is you can be the most prepared and you can nail every opportunity that you get. Every time I get out there, I can come out and do exactly what my job is,
Yep.
especially as a position player. And this happens often, right? You're a center fielder or you're a first baseman, and if you happen to be 2 or 3 years behind, let's say Paul Goldschmidt, or as I was a fan growing up, an Albert Pujols, you
Hmm.
aren't playing
No.
and you aren't getting that opportunity. So you may stay in AA or AAA for this organization when you may be the first baseman for the Colorado Rockies.
Right.
But so when you talk about performing, the only thing you can control is performing,
Yeah.
what you can do. You
Right.
can't control the way somebody else is playing, the organization's mindset. You
No.
cannot do that. So
No.
sometimes luck is a huge part of
Yeah.
getting a chance and getting a shot for Major League Baseball because it is a complex organization.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
I know,
hard work finds good luck, right?
and I know exactly. And I know
Yeah.
plenty of people who did everything right
Yeah.
and never got a shot. And I know
Yeah.
plenty of people who probably weren't the hardest workers, who probably, but you know what? When they had a moment, they
They took it.
executed
Yeah.
and it happened and it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine you said Albert Pujols. I would imagine that if I'm the minor league system of that team,
Yep.
and I know that Albert Pujols, who played
Mhm.
first base, right? You
Yep.
know, he goes down. I need to have someone really good to jump in.
Mhm.
And that really good guy might be in AAA. And if I'm the owner of that team, like I'm not letting that guy go just in case Albert goes down. So which means like you said, you can sit down there in AAA just in case.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that grind. Think about
Yeah.
that when I talk about a minor league mindset of I am not only doing everything right, but I'm doing it above the expectations level of
Yeah.
30 other MLB
Right.
teams. But if that owner says and feels the same way that you just described, in
Yeah.
some sense,
You're stuck.
maybe the jaded part of the game, you're screwed,
Yeah. Right. You're hoping for a trade
right?
or an injury. You don't want to say
Yeah.
that, but you're
I
hoping.
mean, it happens. And
Yeah.
again, sometimes you do get that opportunity and then you go execute. And again, I have a friend that I've just recently connected with, had the opportunity, got the opportunity, executed on the opportunity, has a fluke injury and never stepped on the field again.
Mm.
Again,
Painful.
luck, timing.
Yeah.
You can't control that.
No. Control the controllables. That's it, right?
It's a cold game.
That's it. So the game ended
Yep.
after 2 years, right? Can you
Short.
talk about because your current business is also part of identity coaching, right?
Hmm?
Can you talk about your identity, the challenges you faced when you said, "Hey, baseball's over. Now what?"
So this is where you look back at part of your purpose in the world and you're like, who are you outside of your sport? Because I never thought I would have a chance, I knew that there was going to be something else I was called to do.
Hmm.
But I didn't have the makeup or the background to understand what that was. So I had to do a lot of work on what are the things that I enjoy? What gives me energy? And the word that kind of kept popping up was like, you are a relationship builder, you are a connector, you love doing community work, you love serving, you love helping. Storytelling, executive communication never came to
Hmm.
it. But as I found myself trying to find my identity, working in sales and software in Silicon Valley, getting an opportunity to just find a job to pay the bills. The only thing I remember enjoying or loving was the fact that I am a relationship builder at heart.
Yeah.
And then I went to think about my identity on the field. What did I enjoy? What did I do? Well, let's actually peel it back. And this is what athletes don't do. What did you enjoy about the game? Well, let's see.
Yeah.
I would show up to the field at 12 p.m., run, potentially work out, BP, play catch, shag, because that's what you did as a bullpen pitcher. The game would start at 7. I would pitch at 9:30 p.m. So we're talking I was at the yard for 9.5 hours before I actually got to play the game for potentially 5 minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of time to talk and build relationships. I
Yeah.
chose to. I wanted to know what did I about my team, where they came from, their families. I love just learning and talking shop in the
Yeah.
bullpen.
Yeah.
But if I zoom out and I go, what about the game do I love from the identity lens? I love building relationships.
Hmm.
I love this concept of baseball being a team sport wrapped in an individual concept. Hmm. Okay, that's different. I like that. I have control of what I'm supposed to do, but I also cannot succeed unless I have the eight people behind me.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay, cool. What else about the game do I like? I like the mental performance side of it. I like having to, so then you just start asking yourself these questions. And then I go, wait a sec, how does this show up in sales today? Or what part of this am I not using? What part of am I using?
Yeah.
I don't think I did that soon enough. I think I was listening to what other people told me I needed to do, which is why I had this kind of identity, not crisis, but this confusion as to who am I? Because I
Yeah.
sure as hell don't feel like I'm a software salesman in Silicon Valley, but this is the persona that I've been given, and I don't like it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you're in the tech sales world,
Yep.
did you find that you spent a lot of time talking sports before you even started talking business?
This was my problem, Jeff. I did not get an interview for 6 months or land a job for 6 months because I did not talk about my athletic background.
Mm.
The only reason why I got a job was because the people who were interviewing me looked me up and where they saw my resume, it said volunteer experience, Colorado Rockies, because I wasn't confident that it was an actual job. They looked me up and said, "You actually played. You signed in the 10th round. Why did you not talk about this as if it was your job?" At the
So
time, I didn't.
why do you think you didn't?
Because the way I was raised and the way in which we kind of came up through the game, you either played sport
Hmm.
and were good, as far as like the credibility. You either knew how to fight or you were good at sports.
Yeah.
Outside of that, that was it.
Yeah.
So for me, all I was around was people who just touted their sport, and that's all they were. And I would always remember people would introduce me as Charlie the baseball player, but I would always have this thing inside me, and I would never say anything. I'd be like, or I'm just Charlie who happens to play baseball. Because I also know plenty of people who, when they stopped playing, they had nothing else to offer the world.
Yeah.
And to me, that was always a disservice. And I looked at my godfather, who was a hero of mine, and I looked at him as a former Vietnam vet and how he would always talk about all these lessons learned from his brotherhood and how he meant so much. It meant so much for him to then go serve and work at the Boys and Girls Club to change the youth. And all of this to me was just surrounding the lessons that I would learn from him, from my dad, from my mom, from my grandparents.
Yeah.
And most of it had nothing to do with sport. And I'm like, I am not just a baseball player. So when it came down to me interviewing, I didn't talk about it until I realized that that was, dare I say, a secret weapon.
The door opener.
Yeah. And now it's a lot of why I believe I'm called to do what I do now, not just in the player development space, because I'm transparently barely even in it. I'm like on the side of it because what I do is work with executives and
Yeah.
technology professionals and business professionals and founders and entrepreneurs because they are more than just the one title that they covet.
Right.
There's stories written in that, like an athlete, that we don't take time to figure out, let
Yeah.
alone tell.
Yeah.
I did not for 7 years, which is why
Crazy.
I do what I do now.
So you get, what do you think your biggest adjustment was? I mean, everybody's got different issues, right? So you're in
Yes.
the tech space,
Yeah.
now you're in, the world knows you're a former athlete. And what now? Now what? How do you adjust to that corporate world grind daily mess?
Yeah. I know I fast forwarded a bit. I think I had to remember that I've been here before.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, this is routine. This is what a team is. This is what culture is, especially in sales. You have
Yeah.
to be able to stay neutral. Like, oh, I know this. Baseball's 162 games, 134 in minor leagues. You don't win every game.
Oh,
So I'm like, I've been here before. And then I think what I had to realize was I do have something that other people don't. And it took me being in these rooms, both in the sales environment, it's not even talking about the communication firm that I worked at, which we can go. But when I was in sales, I realized that whenever someone would look me up, because that's what they do, and then they would ask me a question about something from my Pro Bowl days, I would go into story mode. and I would tell a story about it, or speak to a lesson.
Yeah.
And people were so interested in that,
Yeah. It's mesmerizing.
especially if you could tell a story.
Yeah.
And I guess I never realized that was something that I did until I started coaching stories.
Well, you have this talented delivery of how you talk, which it's I don't want to say the word like soothing, but it, it's kind of capturing, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Which means either you have a really good innate system or you've spent a lot of time practicing getting really good at it.
Probably a combination.
A little bit of both.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Okay. So CLR connection. What is it? Where's the motivation behind it? The inspiration? Let's dive into that.
Hard not to go with your initials, right? To pay homage to when I think about legacy, when I think about just me.
Hmm.
It sounds very counterintuitive. I'm named after my grandfathers, which to me is an honor of them, right?
Hmm.
Charles Lawrence Ruiz.
Oh, cool.
Grandfathers were named Charlie and Larry. So for me, it just made sense to pay homage to them in the same way that a lot of the lessons I learned from them obviously trickled down with my parents, who are my heroes. Now, the connection piece comes into when I started working with leaders in Silicon Valley in the communication space, as I started working at this firm, and I started to think about what is that intersection of what I love to do and what I feel like I'm called to do. The word that
Mhm.
kept coming up was connection. Hey, you create space. You connect us. You connect me. You remind me of who I am. I'm able to be myself when I'm with you. Thank you for always connecting me to the right opportunity. So connection was constant for me.
Yeah.
Like, well, sure, it could be CLR.co. It could be, but I know for me, it's all around everything is rooted in connection. And for me, the best leaders understand the importance of connecting,
Yeah.
not just people, but to themselves. And there's a whole mindset and approach and intention and philosophy around what staying connected means. And I feel like that's what I'm called to do is to help people through that with my own way.
Right. So you talk about performance through presence.
Hmm.
Let's
Yes.
let's let's drive that a little bit.
Yes. I'll give you the origin story.
Okay.
I find myself for the first time stepping in entrepreneurship at the Post in New York City with another organization that's a ton of former professional athletes. And a dear friend of mine, Krista, who was running the training camp at the point, asked us to think about our brand statement, and we went through this exercise. Now, I had gone through something similar, and she asked us to be able to condense our mission and our purpose into 5 words or less. Obviously, I said that's impossible in my head. But the words that came mumbling out of my mouth when I grabbed that mic and talked to 150 other former athletes and Olympians was to choose presence over preference.
Mm.
Now, at the time, I didn't know what that was other than just words that came out of my mouth. But what I realized was this notion of presence. And as a leader, that if there's one gift we can give to somebody, is to be paying attention to the person that's in front of us at the moment.
Mm. That's huge.
We prefer to be doing so many other things, but if we can choose our presence over what we prefer to be doing, we're not only going to change the way in which we lead, but we also can
Yeah.
change the way in which we show up for ourselves.
Can we just pause there for a second? Because I want to drive that because there's so many people in today's busy, crazy world,
Yeah.
right? And these things that we have are we're all addicted to them, right? And for
Yep.
those that are listening, not on YouTube, I'm just showing them my phone. And what drives me crazy, if I'm with somebody, I don't care who they are, and their phone rings or they get a text and they're like,
Yep.
hold on a second. I'm like, wait a minute.
No, don't hold
In the
on.
meantime, my phone is in my pocket.
Hmm.
It's ringing, vibrating, texting. I'm not taking it out. Now, there's only three people that I will answer the phone for if no matter what I'm doing. It's
Totally.
my three kids. And there's a
Yep.
long story behind that one, but and because who knows what's going on with them, right? I don't care who the rest of them are. I don't pick it up because if I do that, what does
Yep.
it tell the guy or the girl that I'm talking to? What does it tell them? That this is more important than them. So can you drive that as far as how you coach to that and what the world sees in that?
I think that speaks to everything you just shared when it comes to when people think about what presence is,
Yeah.
right? What is performance through presence? Sure, it's the name of my keynote. It's the core of my work in addition to the storytelling piece. But when you think of what performance through presence means, performance is typically equated to our job.
Hmm.
Very black and white. You win the championship or you don't. You hit your quota or you don't. You get the promotion or you don't. Performance is very metrics driven around outcomes that are often given to us from an external party. Well, when we think about what being present means for ourselves, how are we getting time to self-regulate, to spend time meditating, journaling, praying, doing what we know we need to do just for us? What metrics are there? Like, are there metrics?
Now, do you find most people overlook that and don't spend enough time on themselves?
It's the number one thing that came up. And the story there is in the middle of the pandemic, it was chaos.
Yeah.
Now, I found myself on these calls. At the end of every call, we would have 5 minutes that remained. And I just simply started to ask people, hey, what are you doing for yourself today? Now, I'm asking this because I'm also trying to remind myself I need to take care of myself because I have
Yeah.
a 5-month-old baby and a 2-year-old. Now, granted, I'm an athlete, so I know the importance around running and getting my workout in. But
Yeah.
there were other things that I needed to commit to get some time to self-regulate for myself. So I would ask people every single meeting, customer, into everybody, internal, what are you doing for yourself today? And people would always answer, Jeff, but they would rarely actually say something, one, that they cared about, that they were intentional about, and they would often say something that included somebody else,
Or they just say nothing. I'm not doing anything for myself.
or they would say nothing. I'm
That's
like,
big.
oh. So then what would happen is that they would expect it and they'd get mad at me when I wouldn't ask the question. And then in theory, what would they do? They would ask me that question. I'd have to have a pretty damn good answer. But it had to be more than just, oh, I'm gonna go on a walk or I'm
Yeah.
gonna like, yes, and. So when I talk about presence and performance through presence, presence is not a performance. This is where there's a slight shift. Just like communication, I do not believe communication is a performance. I think a lot of people teach it as a performance, which I am on the opposite side of it.
Hmm.
I don't want you to perform up there. I want you to be.
Yeah.
I don't want you to perform presence. I want you to be with self.
Be where your feet are.
Exactly. Community. What does it look like? If you were to take presence and put some performance metrics around how you're showing up for your community, which is the second C of my 4-step framework,
Hmm.
what does that look like? How many times are you interrupting somebody when they're talking? How many times are you pausing and actually saying, what do you mean by that? And not saying anything else? How many oftentimes do you use closed questions compared to open questions? How many times are you setting aside a lunch with a friend or a quarterly meetup with your high school teammates and friends that you push?
Yeah.
So again, I started to think about what does performance through presence look like? Presence gets very buzzwordy and foo-foo. What if it
Yeah.
wasn't? When performance, when presence becomes just a optional to showing up, it shifts. It shifts the way in which you show up because it's nothing that's needed. I'm of the camp to say, yes, go get your job done and dominate,
Yeah.
but keep score in the other ways too. And if I were to be present with my sense of play, a sense of community, and for my core, and made up some metrics, then
Hmm.
I bet people will start to show up,
Yeah.
not just for themselves, but for their families and for their friends, just with a little more intention.
Yeah.
But we don't.
And they might feel, oh, I don't know if the word obligated is a good word or not, but more encouraged to do so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if it's acknowledged.
Yeah. And when you talk about when you were throwing the ball out and they were like, "Hey, I remember you."
Yes,
You're like, "Holy crap." And you know why they remember you? I'm just sitting here listening to you tell your story, right?
sure.
And it's probably not about how you pitched.
Exactly.
It's probably about how you made them feel when you were there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think for the longest time, I didn't realize the importance of that
Yeah.
until it kept showing up.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what I talk about within my keynote is that of like we equate what we may think. Oh, you remember me because I was the Northwestern League Closer of the Year and was on all the boards and on the front of the newspaper. No, they remember me because when I would walk up to them and I would thank them, I would shake their hand and I would have a conversation with them
Yeah.
and I would make them feel something. That wasn't like I was crafting it. I wasn't performing. That's the difference. I'm not performing there. I'm showing up and
You're just
being
present.
where I need to be when I need to be
Yeah.
there.
That's so cool. So mindset, communication, and identity,
Hmm.
how do they all come together?
I love that. What a fun question. It rolls up to communication for me. Leadership, whether it was working in my previous firm, which I had a ton of experience and learned a lot from them, that most leaders, most organizations, whether it's a Fortune 100 or it's a small startup,
Hmm.
everything rolls up to a lack of communication or clear communication. But the problem is that when it comes to having the proper mindset, is that ego gets in the way oftentimes. And if I know that me and you may be co-founders or we need to get something done, but if our communication style is different, the way in which we change that isn't by taking some random course online. It's by first going here mentally to go, do I know about myself here? And what
Mm.
my comfort level is or what my default is, and how can I adapt it? Because if it's uncomfortable, I have to have the proper mindset to say, this is going to help us long term. I've got to eat this.
Yeah.
Or I have to approach it differently. That all happens in the mind. Because when you start performing communication and using just frameworks and scripts that people give you, people know it's not genuine and intentional. They just know you're following a script.
Yeah.
So it starts with here first. Same goes when you're actually stepping on stage into speaking to 250, 300 people, or you're going into a tough sales pitch.
Right.
You have to have a whole, not just a vision, but a mental approach and a foundation that when people start objecting or when you forget what you were going to say,
Mm.
you got to have a mindset to be able to adapt and pivot in the moment.
Yeah. Pull it
Same
all
way
together.
that, in the
Yeah.
same way that you would train yourself, whether you're playing football, whether you're at the
Yep.
free throw line, whether you're closing the game at the end of the, or whether it's the ninth inning and you close the end of the game. So mindset to me is a integral part of creating communication mastery, but a lot
Right.
of time it's dismissed, as is communication. The
Mm.
identity part just goes into the awareness beat that ties into the mindset. How do I know who I am from a leadership lens? How do I communicate who I am? What values matter to me if I haven't done proper identity work? And by that, I mean finding the time and space to go figure out who I am outside of my insert title.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share with you about something that I do think that one day, Jeff, is going to be a big part of my work.
Okay.
And that is me finding out my own version of how I can help somebody identify these key parts of their life through the identity marathon. And the identity marathon was 2 years ago in 2023. I went on a long run, and I am not a runner because it used to be punishment for baseball. So I just felt myself running.
How
But I,
far did you go?
so this was a 10-mile run, which is a long
Okay.
time.
That's
Yeah,
far. Yeah.
especially when you don't run.
Yep.
And I found myself running around my Parkside. It was called Parkside Commons. I found myself running around the apartment complex, and I stopped in front of my old apartment complex where I grew up. The same little patch of grass where we used to play wiffle ball, right next to my godfather's house that I shared about earlier.
Yep. Yep.
And I caught myself thinking about, man, who was I when I was this 10-year-old kid playing wiffle ball? And how much this place shaped everything about how I am when it comes to creating community, when it comes to having my head on a swivel, when it comes to being uncomfortable and being the small kid on the block. Like all these different things of my life and how I show up and how I lead now, a lot of it was rooted in my time living in these apartment complexes.
Yeah.
So I got home and I told my wife, I'm going to go run a marathon. She was like, what one are you signing up for? I said, mine. I'm going to call it the Identity Marathon. She was like, what the hell are you talking about? I said, you know what? I live next to the junior college baseball field that shaped me, my high school baseball field, the elementary school, my mom and dad's apartment, my original apartment, my grandparents' house. I'm going to choose the places that have shaped my identity and the people and the places that have shaped me. I'm going to map out 26 miles and I'm going to go run. And at each one of these places, I'm going to put my little brother, I'm going to put my high school teammate, catcher, I'm going to put my mom and dad, and they're going to be at the place to give me water. And I'm going to run this in honor of them and finding who I am and thinking about who I am in that process.
How long did you train for that, or you said I'm just going to go out and do it?
6 weeks.
Oh my God,
I finished at 4 hours and 4 minutes.
that's pretty good.
I was happy and bummed I didn't get it under four.
Do it again.
With the other part that I'll go to now is I did just that. I'm gonna go do it again. Well, we're coming off of what, maybe 2 months of me attempting it for the second time. And this time I felt like I was ready. I gave myself 10 weeks.
Okay.
I got sick right at the 9 week mark.
Ugh,
Okay.
it's the
But I
worst.
was like, I'm still scheduled. I
Going
just ran
anyway.
18. I feel good. I'm gonna run 20. And I was like, if I'm feeling it, I'm gonna go. Well, I'm at the 20-mile mark. My wife pulls up with the kids and their signs. My body shut down.
Yeah.
My knee hit. I
Your
stopped,
eyes are burning.
got in the car. My daughters were just like, what's going on, Daddy? Are you okay? I was so upset.
Yeah.
She was like, are you good? I was like, no, let me out the car. I got out the car after sitting in it for like maybe 30 seconds. And I was like, I need to limp home because I need to think about this process for me of what I just went through. And I tell you right now, that 4.5 miles was wildly reflective and
Hmm.
also very timely for what I was going through.
Yeah.
And it showed a lot. So I hobbled my ass home. I think I finished at 4 hours and 23 minutes. Was not proud of the time, but
But you finished.
as you just said, I finished. And that just means the third time's the charm, baby. And the next time I do it, I'm going to crush it.
But under 4.5 hours, that's a good time for a guy who doesn't, for anybody, let alone a guy who doesn't really run,
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
right?
Yes. And I was like on my pace, which is why it was so I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm right on target. 3:48. I was on target.
Hey,
And
man, you're only 37.
I know. I know.
I ran the New York Marathon. I got a picture on the wall of there in 2023 with
Nice.
my daughter.
Oh,
And
I can't wait.
I ran it in February or November of 2023, and it was
That a
like
boy.
4:51,
That a boy.
you
Man,
know?
so cool. With your
And
daughter, how
yep.
special is that?
Oh yeah, I got a picture over there. I'll send it to you. Crossing the
Please.
finish line with her together. It was incredible.
That's life right there.
Yeah.
That's
It was outside of her wedding, and her being and them being born. That was
yeah,
probably one of the most emotional days I've ever had.
absolutely.
Yeah.
As it should be.
It was crazy.
Right.
But um but you're talking to leaders now, corporate leaders, executives, right? Who maybe some of them may be former athletes too.
Oh yeah.
Probably a lot of them are, you know.
Yep.
But what do you think they're struggling with now? What's the biggest thing? Like, you know what? There's so many leaders, executives. This is the common theme and problem, or is it just all over the map?
Combination. I think that they don't ever have a chance to really sit back and go outside of maybe what society, my job, parents, team, coach. I don't think I actually know who I am outside of this crazy title that I have. I've
Yeah.
climbed the peak. I made it. And not only did I make it, but I got to the top of this mountain and I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, there's another mountain. So it's this double-edged sword that we talk about, especially coming from sport. If we don't ask ourselves if we love the process and what do we love about the process, aka, man, I love building relationships. I love connecting people. I love serving. If we don't ever ask ourselves that question and we
Yeah.
aren't told what that is,
Right.
now we're 45 and we're going, yeah, I don't know how to be myself on stage. I don't know how to lead outside of what playbook or management course or MBA program that I went to. So I think what comes up to me, and now I'm getting a chance to be able to work with these executives and former professional athletes and Olympians at
Yeah.
a pretty high level to where they're like, you were helping me identify the core of who I am.
Yeah. The core values.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just got done with another offsite with a huge company here in Silicon Valley, finance team, director. These people have 15, 20-year careers.
Still trying to figure it out.
We do a leadership identity storytelling exercise, 2-hour workshop. That's it. 15 of them. I've never done that. To which my response is, you've never thought about some of the core stories that have shaped how you lead a Fortune 100 organization? You've never talked about your grandpa or Coach Ed? You've never talked about how you use that same lesson with your ch children as a
Yeah.
father or as a mother? No. Or if I did, I usually ramble about it. Great. What if you can hone in on that message and communicate it with some clarity and conviction? I know a guy. They're like, I've never done that. That's what I'm called to do.
Wow.
Be able to help these people not just identify the story, but to tell it with clarity and with conviction. And to me, that's
Which which will make them better leaders.
yes. And that's where the soft skill part of, as I'm learning in the entrepreneur game, as you know, as a financial person yourself,
Yeah.
sure, soft skills, communication training, huh? Why? What's the return here? It's harder to communicate an ROI of helping someone communicate their story.
Yeah.
But I tell you, once you get to this certain peak, whether you're a product leader, and I get this in tech, whether you're a CEO, a CFO, once you get to this level playing field, who stands out? The person who knows how to communicate, who
Yeah.
knows how to tell a story, who knows how to influence. Everything rolls up to communication.
Yeah. That's huge. So, what advice would you give to the, let's say, the athletes today that
Hmm.
are transitioning out of sport into the career world?
Yep.
It's a two-part question. And then, what advice would you give to the young executive who is trying to figure out who the hell they are?
Yeah. Athletes transitioning out. Two-part answer now because there's one that I got and I appreciate. Find a way to close the book on your own terms.
Mm,
Now, sometimes we can't. And part of that, closing the book on your own terms, is acknowledging your career, whether it's 10 years, 5 years, 2 years. And if you can, acknowledging it with people that you love. Because they're the ones that you've been doing it with, and not for, but for some cases, for
yeah.
a lot of the time. So, can you acknowledge your 11-year career in the minor leagues? I'm thinking of a former teammate of mine who said, no, I've never actually acknowledged or celebrated my career. Hard to celebrate something you're still mourning.
Right. Yeah.
Well, what if you celebrated it? Even better, you go celebrate that with somebody who was supporting you, former teammates, your parents,
Yeah.
coach. Like, find a way to close that chapter. And if you can do it with someone you love, you will forever remember that moment. That's the first thing I would tell somebody to figure out as an
That's big.
athlete transitioning out. Now, that young executive who's trying to find out who they are, this sounds very simple. Go look around both in your internal circle, whether that's family, friends, coaches. Ask. First, first check of the ego, which we also need to find and learn how to deal with. I'm
Not
not
easy
mad
to
at
do.
egos. I think it's we have to learn how to work with them
Yeah.
because sometimes the ego helps us propel.
Yeah.
Well, you want an ego check? Go ask people what they think of you
Mm,
and push them on it. I was
wow.
fortunate to get this when I left a company, and then all of a sudden there's like this board of all the things I've done for people. Thank you for creating space for me. Thank you for helping me be my authentic self. Thank you for always welcoming me with open doors. Thank you for creating a genuine sense of conversation. Oh, all of these things. This is why connection came up. Because for me, I was a connection point. Great. But go ask people. That shit's hard to do.
Oof. I'd be afraid of what I'm going to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, hey, wait, really, if they're really going to be honest and transparent,
Right.
you got to have courage to ask that
Yes.
question, and you have to have thick skin.
Yes. And you have to ask and work with the right person who's going to challenge you and push you on your BS.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's so cool.
Like I know, former COO of mine, Charlie, you're gonna do amazing things once you figure out how to not be a people pleaser.
Mm,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll take that. Cool. Why? Well, I come from service. I come from service. Great. Okay. Well, I got to figure out how I can learn to adapt that. That doesn't feel good, but damn it, it helped shape me. And here I am starting my own
yeah,
business.
yeah. So, Charlie, there's people listening right now.
Yeah.
They're like, man, this stuff sounds really cool. How do they get a hold of you? Where can they find you? How do they
Yes.
get you?
I'm active on Instagram. Charles L. Ruiz is my Instagram handle. I'm also very active on LinkedIn. So you'll see me posting on there, telling stories, trying my best to not keep it as corporate-y, but at the same time, you'll see me fairly active on LinkedIn.
Right.
And then starting the YouTube channel, I mean, you'll see some stuff there. But again, think those main social threads. That's typically where I'm at.
Okay.
But the main way to get a hold of me is by checking out the website and then keeping an eye out for a lot of the stuff that I'm getting ready to launch,
Yep.
podcasts, and some open forums with some of my supportive speaking programming that I'm excited to be able to
Okay.
launch, put out to the world.
Cool. And your last name is spelled Ruiz,
That's it.
right? And this way, when they're looking for you, they'll find the right spelling, which is
Yeah.
great. Well, Charlie, we covered a lot of stuff, man. We talked about coming out of high school. We talked about JUCO. We talked about college. We talked about the draft. We talked about baseball. We talked about your corporate life. We talked about your business. Is there anything we haven't touched on you think we should hit before we wrap it up?
I mean, I think this was not just reflective, but it was fun to do. There's nothing that stands out other than I think maybe just a reminder of how all of this rolls up to being where you need to be when you need to be there.
Right. That is so cool. This is going to be my last question, even though that one is almost.
I mean,
There's going to come a day, Charlie, where they hear your name, right? And you might not be around anymore. And they
hmm,
say, hey, Charlie, he was a what? How do you want to be remembered when that time ever comes?
hmm. I think in a similar way, it's hard for me not to think about my babies, right, and the girls. But I think I go back into he was the guy who always created space for me.
Mm, that's big. That's
I
big.
think that's what we need.
Yeah.
Or I think that's what I want to be like, hey, I could always go and just be.
Yeah.
And that guy used to always create space for others and for me to be.
I'm going to add to that for you
Thank you.
is you're not only creating space for people, but I think they're going to say he's the guy that was always present for me.
Hmm. I'll take that.
Yeah. I think that's what they're going to say,
Thank you.
because it goes all the way back. And that's everything you've been talking about from day one. Like you're present for everybody and you're trying to coach people and bring your value to them to make sure that that ripple effect
Yeah.
continues.
Yes.
That's huge,
Thank you.
you know? Well, Charlie, listen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Appreciate it.
This is awesome. I can't wait for you. When's your podcast going to start going?
Ooh, early tease, opening day. Opening day of
Opening.
baseball.
Oh, that's a great time.
Uh,
That's cool. Well, I'm gonna be
that
looking.
will be the teaser. You'll see.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to that. I'll be tuning in and listening, which would be great. And if there's anything I could ever do for you, you got my number, you got my email, you got everything. You just call, you just reach out, and I'll be present.
Appreciate you.
You
Thank
know,
you.
you got it. And stay strong.
Yes, sir. Got it. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you.